All right, so over the past dozen or so videos, we've been talking about undesigned coincidences in the New Testament. Let's switch gears and dive into the Old Testament now. Sure, the coincidences might not be as jam-packed as the ones in the New Testament, and they might not always have that cool factor of multiple accounts of the same event, but hey, there's still hiding some gems worth exploring, so let's dig in. Just as a quick heads up if you're new, undesigned coincidences happen when two or more parts of Scripture casually connect and often clarify each other. The casual way they do it is a sign of truth. The sources or passages don't seem to be making an effort to point to or complete each other. This is not what we would anticipate from made-up stories or fake stuff. However, it's precisely what we would expect from quite detailed and truthful accounts. Be sure to go back and check out the rest of the series to catch up. This first coincidence may be subtle, but it's a real eye-opener. In 1 Samuel 13:19, we discover that as the Philistines grew in power over the Israelites, they forbade Hebrew blacksmiths from operating, preventing the Israelites from making their own weapons. But if you dig a little deeper, you'll notice several casual mentions in other Old Testament historical books that reinforce this very scenario. For instance, the same passage mentions how Hebrews had to rely on the Philistines to sharpen their farming tools. Then, in Judges 3:16, we see Ehud concealing a homemade dagger by strapping it to his right leg since he was left-handed. This would basically be like somebody making a shank while they were in prison. Ehud had to sneak around to forge it. Then, in Judges 3:31, Shamgar takes down the Philistines not with a sword, but with an ox goad. And then we look over at Judges 14:5-6, Samson, despite his intentions against the Philistines, finds himself unarmed when he confronts a lion, having to use his bare hands to defend himself. Later in his conflict with the Philistines, Samson resorts to using a donkey jawbone to fight. And who could forget the classic Sunday school tale of David and Goliath in 1 Samuel 17, where we learn that the Israelites resorted to mastering the use of slings for a time due to the lack of access to proper weaponry. Clearly, the author of Judges wasn't in cahoots with the writer of 1 Samuel foreseeing some grand explanation of this obscure detail down the road. It's not like they intentionally crafted a setup in Judges to neatly clarify a point in 1 Samuel. And when it comes to David's sling skills, it's not explicitly stated in the earlier passage about the Philistines banning Hebrew blacksmiths. It's like these puzzle pieces that just fell into place without any one person orchestrating the puzzle. All right, let's talk a little bit more about David and Goliath, and here's another one of those sneaky undesigned coincidences. So where exactly did Goliath call home? According to 1 Samuel 17:4, Goliath was none other than Goliath of Gath. Now, let's hop back a bit to Numbers 13:32-33. Remember the Israelites chickening out about taking the land after spying it out? Yeah, they backed off because they spotted the sons of Anak, those giants, or as they call them, the Nephilim. They said that they felt like grasshoppers next to these towering figures. Now, swing on over to Joshua 11:21-22. The initial generation of scaredy cats didn't make it into the promised land, but Joshua and his crew did, mostly. Yet, there were still some descendants of Anak hanging around, as the passage reads, and Joshua came at that time and cut off the Anakim from the hill country, from Hebron, from Debir, from Anab, and from all the hill country of Judah, and from all the hill country of Israel. Joshua devoted them to destruction with their cities. There was none of the Anakim left in the land of the people of Israel. Only in Gaza, in Gath, and in Ashdod did some remain. Aha! So, according to the writer of Joshua, there were still some of those towering Anakim hanging around, especially in Gath. But here's the kicker. The writer of Samuel doesn't make a big deal out of it. They just casually drop the detail that Goliath hailed from Gath. It's like they're not even trying to make connections or fill in the gaps. These sources aren't nudging each other or complementing some grand narrative puzzle. Heck, most folks might not even catch on to this sneaky little coincidence, which wouldn't exactly be helpful for someone who's trying to pull off a fictional story. So those are just a couple of Old Testament undesigned coincidences for you, and this is just the tip of the proverbial iceberg, really. But hold on tight because there's more waiting for you in the wings. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, ring the bell, and make sure you swing back for the next episode where we'll go into more examples. And thanks so much for watching.